Hello and thanks for joining me. I'm in the workshop again today, but I'm not actually working on any of my bikes. I had intended to go for a ride today, but the weather has been absolutely appalling. It's been very heavy rain all day. If you live in the UK, you know that we just sometimes get periods like this where we've got a lot of heavy rain. And yeah, I just don't feel like getting the bike out and going for a ride because there's nowhere I need to be. So I'm having a sort through my tools and just tidying up the workshop, and I came across a couple of tools which are the oldest tools that I've got by which I mean to say these are the tools which I bought first. And I've actually found the very first tool that I ever bought. Now the tools that I'm talking about here, these are before I was old enough to ride a motorcycle. So I was riding bicycles when I was younger. So I don't know if you can see there's a little sort of box spanner there for bicycles. That's a little bicycle spoke spanner. That is a chain link splitter, but you can see from the size of it, it's for a bicycle rather than for a motorcycle. But the tool I want to talk about is this one. Now I'll hold that really close because you probably, unless you rode bicycles back in the 60s and the 70s and possibly into the 80s, you maybe not know what that is. But this is not a sort of show and tell video about my tools. Rather, I want to tell you the story behind me buying this tool, because it's an interesting story in that it's had an impact on my attitude towards buying tools and doing work myself on my bikes. It's had an impact on me for the rest of my life. So I'm in a position now where I actually have quite a lot of tools in the workshop here, and I confess to being something of a tool collecting addict. Now I don't mean by that I collect old tools or I collect them just for the sake of it. I only collect tools to use, but I mean I've got a lot of particularly specialist tools for specialist jobs, a lot of things which your average biker probably wouldn't typically have in their garage. You know, I'm not a professional mechanic. I don't even do all the work on my bikes. I enjoy working on my bikes and I do the work that I enjoy. But I want to show you this tool, and I want to talk about the little story behind me buying it. So I'll put these down. When I was a young lad, I was really into bicycles, and I was very fortunate in that my father in his younger days had been a cycle racer, and so he was really into bicycles, and he knew his bicycles very well, and he was a very able mechanic, my dad. Still is, I guess, but he doesn't do much these days. Yeah, both on bicycles and on cars, and later when I got my first motorbike, my father really helped me and taught me the basics of mechanic on motorcycles. But anyway, when I was 12 years old, my father said to me, "Oh, you're old enough now to to get a proper bike." I had a sort of small kiddie's bike before that. And so what my dad said was, we're going to build you a proper adult bike together. I'll teach you how to put a bike together and buy it. So we got the frame, we got the hubs, the rims, the spokes, I had to assemble the wheels, all the bearings, everything. So I learned about headstock bearings and things which have transferred very usefully onto motorcycles. But anyway, I built this bicycle, and I used to go everywhere on this bicycle as a kid, and when I loved it. But anyway, one day I got home from school, and I can't remember what the situation was. I think I had a broken spoke or something like that. And in order to replace it, I had to remove the gear block from the rear wheel. It was derailleur gears. Had to remove the gear block. So this little tool that I was showing you is the tool for removing that gear block. But I didn't have one, so I was 12 years old. So I removed the wheel from my bicycle and I walked down to the bicycle shop, which was about a mile away from where I lived. Oh, can you hear the rain hammering on the roof? I hope you can hear me over the sound of that rain. It's just appalling weather at the moment. It's hammering down out there. Anyway, I walked about a mile to the bicycle shop and carrying my wheel, and I went into the shop and I said to the guy in the shop, "Can you remove the block from me, please?" And so he got a tool out of the drawer and undid it for me, and he charged me, I think it was 50 pence, 50 UK pence back then. And I then took the wheel home, did the work that I needed to do on it, put it all back together, put it back on my bike, took it for a test ride down the road, and it wasn't quite right. So I got back home and I needed to take the block off again. So I took the wheel off the bike again and walked the mile down to the bicycle shop again, and went in for him to remove the block again. But this time when I went in, I said to him, before I asked him to remove it, I said, "How much is the tool to buy? How much is that tool actually to buy?" And he had a look and he said, "Well, it's £1." So I just paid 50 pence for him to remove the block from me once. I was just about to pay another 50 pence for him to remove the block from me again. And so I said that time, okay, I'll buy the tool. So I paid £1 for this tool. And, you know, my point is, having paid £1, I have that tool now, what, 45, 46 years later. I still have this tool, and it has been used many times since then. So the lesson that I learned at that young age was that if there is a job that needs doing and you need a specialist tool for it, it is worth going out and buying that tool. And I've applied that philosophy throughout my whole life. I've always thought if there's a job that you're trying to do and it needs some kind of specialist tool, it is worth going out, buying that specialist tool, learning how to use it, and then you've got that tool for the rest of your life. Incidentally, when I got my first motorcycle, I was 16 years old. I got a little nifty 50. So for my birthday, my dad bought me a small tool set, bought me a small little metal toolbox, a concertina metal toolbox, and he bought me a set of tools, which are a basic set of tools. You know, there were some spanners, there were some screwdrivers, pliers, you know, things like that. And I still have all of the tools that my father bought me when I was 16. Obviously my toolkit is massively expanded since then, but I still have all the tools that my dad bought me when I was 16. So another thing which I've always been very keen on is caring for my tools, looking after them, making them last. So this is not a sort of show and tell video in terms of, I'm not going to sort of show you the contents of my tool chest. Really, I just wanted to talk about my philosophy towards tools, towards buying them, using them and looking after them. So I hope you found that interesting. I'll see you the next time. Bye.